There are a lot of Dragon Ball games, and I've made a ton of videos covering them in the past, but no Dragon Ball games have people more thirsty for a new entry than the Budokai Tenkaichi games. And while we're still waiting on Tenkaichi 4, what if there was a Tenkaichi game that most people outside of Japan have never actually played? The Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi games are big 3D arena battlers that originally debuted on the PS2, but pushed through into PSP games and even more games on the PS3 and Xbox 360. But there's one game that was released in arcades only, and on top of that, exclusively in Japan. Dragon Ball Zenkai Battle, originally called Zenkai Battle Royale, was released exclusively in Japanese arcades and is a 2v2 multiplayer arena battler. Until recently, there was no real way to play this game outside of Japan unless you managed to, I don't know, import the arcade hardware. Speaking of, this game ran on the Namco System 357 hardware. To put it in super simple terms, the Namco 357 hardware was the same as the PS3's hardware, but repackaged for use in arcades with additional functionality like the ability to accept external devices for payments and account linking. A few games use this hardware outside of Zenkai Battle, most notably Tekken Tag Tournament 2. Before we fully look at the game though, I quickly want to shout out the sponsor of this video. So a little known fact about me, I can cook, but oh man do I not like the hassle. That's where Factor comes in. Why order takeout or long-winded fast food delivery when you can have a delicious and nutritious meal in your hands in just a couple of minutes? Factor delivers fresh, never frozen meals right to your doorstep, and the meals are fast to prepare, but even more importantly for me, tasty. It's full meals and their menus are updated weekly with over 27 meal options and over 33 add-on options. With Factor, you can choose your favorite meals or let them craft your order based on your taste preferences and meal history. I personally have a lot less free time lately, and with Factor, I don't have to worry about setting aside a ton of extra time for shopping and cooking a meal that might not even be that good. With Factor, it's super convenient and stress-free, and I can count on it being tasty every time. Also, you might remember that I worked with HelloFresh a while back, and Factor is actually owned by HelloFresh now. I get to happily say that I've tried and enjoyed both. I highly recommend Factor, and to give it a shot, head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code NEOSCI50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. Again, that's factor75.com or the link below and use code NEOSCI50. Thank you so much to Factor for sponsoring this video. Zenkai Battle looks a lot like the normal Tenkaichi games on the surface, but the gameplay is actually a lot different when you get your hands on it. In this game, you choose your character and then you're up against up to 2 opponents along with your cooperative partner. This means that there are up to 4 characters in the arena at once. Visually, it's actually really nice looking, especially for a game that first released in like 2012. While it's not cel-shaded like modern games, it's not quite, Jump Force either. I think the detail in the environments is something that we don't see in newer arena-style Dragon Ball games, but I think maybe that still comes down to the art style too. Plus, there's a ton of stage destruction and it feels really natural and it's a lot of fun to look at. To get into the nitty-gritty of the gameplay, the goal here is for you, and depending on the match and your co-op partner, to defeat the opponents a set number of times to win the match in a big 2v2 arena. If you've seen other similar arcade games like Gundam Extreme Versus or the new Dissidia game, you've seen this general gameplay style before. You can switch between targets at any time, and when you defeat an opponent, they'll respawn if they have lives remaining. Control-wise, you can move in any direction like you'd expect, but if you hold forward, you'll automatically use key to chase down your targeted opponent. Movement is actually pretty limited in feel here compared to a standard Tenkaichi game, but given that it's an arcade game with fewer buttons and the rounds are supposed to be pretty straightforward and quick, it makes sense from an ease of use standpoint. You've got a basic attack button that can translate into combos along with a guard button. Guarding works kind of like Super Smash Bros. Guarding, where doing it too much leads to a guard break, and it leaves you completely open to attacks for a short period of time. You can grab by pressing 2 of the buttons at once, though you can't grab huge characters like Broly. There's also another function that you can do, and I have no idea what this is supposed to be. I tried using it a bunch of different times, but I can't tell what it does. Special moves are activated with their own button and change depending on what direction you're holding down. For Goku, there's a Kamehameha that you can charge up and deal more damage with it, along with another chargeable move in the Kaioken ability, which lets you rush the opponent for a powerful melee attack. The longer you charge these, the more damage they do, but the longer you charge them, the more vulnerable you are. Goku also has a chargeable Spirit Bomb move, which takes up 2 move slots technically. One slot lets him gather energy up to 3 times, and the other actually activates the Spirit Bomb itself. There are 3 variations of this Spirit Bomb, with each one's size and power increasing depending on how many times you gathered energy. Hilariously, if you're too close to the ground, the Spirit Bomb damages Goku too. One last special move are these cooperative charge attacks that can be triggered, but seemingly only during certain fights or moments. For me, these only happened when fighting against Broly, who is part of the Adventure Mode's Route Boss. Fights are labeled as standard fights, boss fights, and route boss fights, and the final fight that I played was the route boss fight. This game's progression, at least from what I played, is through stages, and one credit lets you play one set of stages. I was only able to access the first set, but I'll get to that in a second. Each stage seems to have a set difficulty level, and once you've cleared the stages fully, you earn points, and at the end, sometimes stuff like unlockable characters. At the end of these route boss fights, you and your partner sometimes can do a coordinated rush attack against the opponent, and at a specific moment, you either have to shake the joystick back and forth really fast or mash the attack button really fast. This attack seemingly ends the fight every time, but it doesn't seem to always trigger either. I'm not sure what the exact conditions are to get this to trigger, nor do I know if this move always happens during the route boss stages. But you've probably noticed that since this video began, I've only used Goku, and I've only fought the same handful of opponents. Well, there's a reason for that. The way I'm playing this game is through a PlayStation 3 emulator, and while the game runs flawlessly, as of now, this emulator has no way of accessing or saving player data. See, for a lot of Japanese arcade games, player data is stored on the publisher servers through the use of game cards, with this game using the Bandai Namco Passport card, normally shortened to Bana Passport. And even if I had one of these Bana Passport cards, there's currently no way to actually use the card on the PS3 emulator. This means that, unfortunately, this game is stuck in a sort of demo mode and you can only play the first few fights. You do unlock Super Saiyan Goku as your second character when you complete all of the fights, but then the game prompts you to use a Bana Passport to save it, and if you don't, you're chucked back straight to the title screen and the data doesn't save. This kinda sucks because there's a ton of playable characters, all of which have their own unique playstyles and specials. There's a bunch of videos online and in the game showcasing the characters, but there's something even more frustrating about knowing that they're in the game, just inaccessible to me. You can look at the available characters on the official website and also in these promotional videos that play whenever the game sits idle. It's just, they're so close yet so far. And even then, this game's online service is shutting down soon, so I don't know if they're going to still tie it to the Bana Passport, or maybe just have a new version that has all the characters unlocked to begin with. There's no real way to know. Also, can I just say, I love the renders on this website. They've got this hard to explain mixture of artwork and 3D models that makes the characters look almost like action figures, but I'm getting way off track here. I have seen people working on ways around the whole demo mode thing, like this video from another YouTube channel where he messed with the game code to unlock more available fights and difficulties, or this one where he replaced all the Goku files with Vegeta files. But there's really no straightforward way for the average person to unlock these characters otherwise. So unfortunately for now, we're stuck with plain old Goku in the same plain old fights. I'll be honest, I actually spent a whole day trying to mess with this game's files myself, and the closest I got was making Goku's voice lines change to Beerus's. I'd show you what that sounds like, but I can't actually play any of the audio from the game itself because this game uses music directly from the show, like Chala Head Chala and a lot of the other battle music, and I don't feel like fighting off a copyright claim anytime soon. Also, there is technically a little demo test mode on the title screen that lets you use Super Saiyan Blue Goku, but it only lasts about 10 seconds and you can't use any abilities, so it may as well not count. Anyways, Zenkai Battle is actually pretty fun. I like the simplified control style that lets you focus more on tactics than pure movement, and I really would enjoy being able to try out more of these characters and stages too. And while that may take some time, if it ever even becomes possible, I fully intend on going back and giving it another shot. Honestly, I really hope that they maybe just release this as its own game later, maybe as like a downloadable thing on modern consoles. Who knows? It happened for Dissidia, though that game wasn't very successful, but still, we can hope. Anyways, this video has been a shorter one, but it's something that I've really wanted to cover on my channel, especially since this game is now technically playable. Before I leave you though, I've got to give a massive shout out to my patrons, including That's Ash and Megan Solo Cup in the Play It Every Game tier, along with these wonderful people that you see on your screen. Your support really helps make this stuff possible. And thank you, person watching this, for sticking around till the end. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a fantastic day.